Hello everyone, this is part 45 of What If Naruto Meets the Nine Tails Early, and I hope you guys enjoy this video and to like, to subscribe, to share, and check out the playlist, to see more comment down below. Now let's start the intro.
They call me a god. They call me a god. They call me a god.
Join my membership, the perks are great. It's in the description. I knew it was all for naught. It was hopeless from the very beginning. I knew he would eventually find me one day. Fuji Kazuki, also known as Kazuhana Kayuki, could only help but reflect on the current situation she was in. For the past 15 years, ever since she fled the land of snow with the help of her manager and caretaker Sandayu, she had been successfully avoiding detection by Doto Kazuhana, her uncle and the one responsible for this entire mess. She was currently being led off a ship that had just made port in the land of snow, shackled and led along the docks by her captor, one of Doto's personal guards by the name of Ruga Nader. Following closely behind was the second of Doto's lackeys, a large brute by the name of Fuyukuma Mizor. Apparently there was a third member of the group, but she had gone missing during the mission. Being paraded off the docks in front of a few snow ninja and some of the civilian population, she took in the looks that were being sent her way. Most of the ninja, all wearing some variant of chakra armor, were sending her wild grins as the last hope of resistance against Doto-sama's regime had finally been captured. However, the looks on the civilians present were pretty much the opposite. Their faces showed a look of sorrow and depression, seeing their once beloved princess paraded around like some meager trophy. These people had looked forward to the day that Kazuhana Kayuki, rightful ruler of the land of snow, would return, but they had only wished that it wasn't like this. What only made it worse for Kayuki was when she saw their condition and the current state of the town. Buildings were beginning to fall to ruins and the people looked like they were barely able to get by. Some appeared emaciated while others barely had much clothes hanging on them. For a land that was constantly covered in snow, it was a miracle these people were even alive. Reaching the outside of the gates of Doto's fortress, which had been built over top the once majestic Kazuhana castle, Kayuki saw about half a dozen guards standing in front of her, most likely there to collect her and take her to her uncle. Two of the guards stepped forward. "It appears as if your mission succeeded, Nader," said one of the guards. "But it appears as if you're missing one. Where is Fubuki?" asked one of the guards. "Sadly she didn't make it," said Nader, trying to fake sympathy for his fallen comrade. "I see. Oh well," said the other guard. "Doto-sama is awaiting you." Nader nodded as he and Mizor led Kayuki towards the fortress gates. "I guess this is it," thought Kayuki as she looked back to see the assembled villagers who had come to see if that was really their princess who had been captured. "I'm sorry I let you all down. I figured it would be hopeless from the beginning, but still I'm sorry." "It's not hopeless. The hero has finally arrived." Kayuki's head shot up as she heard a familiar voice echo through the crowd and two of the guards in the rear suddenly exploded, catching the remaining gate guards in the inferno and sending Nader, Mizor, and Kayuki flying backwards. Only Kayuki found herself being caught by someone. "A few days ago. Damn it. How much longer, Ero Senin?" shouted one Uzumaki Naruto from the deck of a rather large sailing vessel. "Stop asking. I got the fastest ship available and this is the fastest it can go," yelled Jiraiya at the impatient blonde. "I just talked to the captain. We should make port in the land of snow by tomorrow." "Good. The sooner we save Kayuki, the better," said Naruto. "Now listen up, Naruto," said Jiraiya. There was something he needed to tell his student regarding their current mission. "I think this is the first time you've been on an infiltration mission, so there are a few things I need to tell you." Naruto nodded as he listened closely. "First, the last thing we want to do is go around setting off all the alarms until we know where Kayuki is and we've rescued her. Even then, we want to draw as little attention as possible. That means you can't just go charging in. From what Iruka told me, you've actually got a high degree of stealth skills from all those pranks you pulled back in the academy. Well, now's the time to put them to good use." "Right, so what do we need to do first?" asked Naruto. "First we need to locate the princess. They were only a day ahead of us, so it is entirely possible that we've surpassed them in this chase and we'll reach the land of snow before they do. It is also very likely that they are already in the land of snow and Kayuki is locked up in some dungeon, if not worse," explained Jiraiya. We need to do a little information gathering to determine where exactly she is and what our course of action will be. Naruto, once we make port, we're in hostile territory. Make sure you have everything you need for any kind of situation that may arise, and by that I mean be ready for anything, said Jiraiya. Naruto nodded. For the blonde Jinchuriki, this was his first mission of this kind. This was the first time he was actually infiltrating a country to rescue what was apparently the rightful princess to the nation. He knew this mission was important, especially given what was at stake. Flashback. The ship had just left port and was on its way towards the land of snow, and Jiraiya was staring intently at the purple hex crystal in his hand. Naruto was sitting to his right at the table within one of the cabins on the ship. Sitting across from them was a man who had been withholding a large secret, one that could affect the fate of an entire nation. I must sincerely apologize for everything and thank you for your aid, said Sandayu. That's fine and all, but you still haven't told us everything regarding this whole event, said Jiraiya. I suppose I haven't. Kyuki is the daughter of Kazuhana Sosatsu, who was a benevolent and fair ruler of the land of snow. I've known her since she was a little girl, and ever since then, I always knew she would grow up to be just like her father. Now, Sosatsu's brother, Doto, was the exact opposite. He was manipulating, devious, and just plain cruel. Sosatsu kept preaching about the treasure of the Kazuhana clan, and how it would one day bring spring to the land of snow. Now Doto, being the greedy bastard he is, felt that sort of treasure would be better off in his hands, not in the hands of someone who would frivolously give it away. For a few years, Doto secretly gathered support within the shinobi village of Yukigakure until that night. That night, what happened? Asked Naruto. Jiraiya sent Naruto a look for interrupting the story. It was on that night, after Doto had gained the support of a majority of the ninja of Yukigakure, that he made his move, and Kei his brother, staging a successful coup d'etat and proclaiming himself as the ruler of the land of snow. On that night, with the help of some ninja who was still loyal to Susan and a ninja from your village by the name of Hatake Kakashi. Wait, you knew Kakashi-sensei? Exclaimed Naruto. Sensei? Asked Sandayu with a raised eyebrow. Yeah, he's my Jonin-sensei, although he and the rest of my team have been temporarily dissolved for training purposes, said Naruto. I see. Well, it was Kakashi-san that took Kyuki and myself and helped us flee the country, taking the hex crystal and the key to the Kazuhana clan treasure with us. Now, you would think that Doto would be mad, letting the one thing he desired most slip through his fingers, but no, he was not mad, he was furious. For the next 5 years after that, Kyuki and I were barely avoiding capture by Doto's men, constantly moving, changing our names, and carefully guarding our true identities, said Sandayu. You know, for someone in hiding, becoming a high-profile actress probably wasn't the smartest move, said Jiraiya. I realize that now, but being an actress has always been one of Kyuki's dreams, and I thought it would be a way to keep her happy. You see, after that night, she began to sink into depression due to the loss of her father, and she began to give up hope that we would escape Doto's clutches and return home, explained Sandayu. It's been about 15 years since we fled the country, and over those 15 years, I've been doing everything I could to get her mind off of Doto and to try and make her happy, and I was doing good as well, until that band of ninjas showed up a month ago. You mean the ones Naruto fought off? Asked Jiraiya. Sandayu nodded. In hindsight, we probably should have moved then and there, going back into hiding, said Sandayu. Or you could have just told us the moment those ninja attacked. If you had, then Naruto and I could have kept a closer eye on her, said Jiraiya. After all, I am one of the legendary Sannin, the great toad sage Jiraiya. Naruto just sweat dropped and muttered something under his breath, earning a look from Jiraiya. And the Gaki's not that bad either. I'm sorry for that. I had considered sending for ninja security, but I felt that would only draw more attention to us, said Sandayu. You have to understand that I had to keep as low a profile from Doto as possible. He's a tyrant and will do anything to ensure his hold on the country. So he's just going to K her the moment they reach port? Asked Jiraiya. Thankfully, no. His greed will be the one thing saving Kyuki from immediate said Sandayu. As long as he does not get this hex crystal, there is still hope. End flashback. We've got to stop him and save Kyuki, declared Naruto. I know Gaki, I know. But we can't just go charging in there, guns a-blazing, said Jiraiya. Just whatever you do, don't lose your head. Hey Riku, did you hear? Called out a Yukigakure shinobi as he walked into a bar. Another Yuki shinobi turned to greet his apparent comrade. It sounds like Nade's team finally caught that bee. Wow, seriously, exclaimed Riku. Damn, that Nade's something. No wonder he's Doto-sama's right-hand man. A third Yuki ninja, with long black hair and a scar going down his left cheek, came up to the bar, next to the duo. Really? Where did you hear something like that? It's the word going around the palace. I just found out I left guard duty, said the Yuki shinobi. Apparently, they're arriving tomorrow at the docks. I can't believe that after 15 years, we finally caught up with that bee. Now nobody's going to be able to question Doto-sama's rule. And once he gets his hands on the Kazuhana treasure, then not even the 5 great nations will be able to stand against our might. I see, so it appears as if we arrived early. This actually makes things easier. Taking a seat next to the scar-faced Yuki ninja, another Yuki ninja, this one with short and spiky brown hair and a standard Yukigakure uniform consisting of chakra armor, did his best to repress the anger that was building up inside of him. I so want to kick that geyser. But sadly that would require blowing my cover. Calm down, Kit, I've got a feeling you'll get your chance. Hey, don't worry Kurama. Don't worry. Ho, I guess this calls for a drink, exclaimed the scar-faced ninja. Bartender, 4 drinks for me and my friends. The bartender nodded as he set a plate with 4 drinks in front of the scar-faced ninja. The ninja then proceeded to pass 2 drinks to his spiky-haired comrade, Riku, and Riku's friend. Hey thanks, Name's Kazama, Haizu Kazama, and this is my nephew Haizu Minato, said Kazama, pointing to the spiky-haired ninja next to him. Thanks Kazama-san, the name's Senjutsu and this here's my buddy Riku, said Senjutsu, as he and Riku took the drinks. To Doto-sama, the Yukikage. Kazama raised his glass and Minato reluctantly did the same. To Doto-sama. As the glasses clanged and the 4 downed the drinks, a large explosion fell through the town. What was that? Asked Minato. Damn, it's gotta those rebel bastards again, exclaimed Senjutsu as he and Riku grabbed their equipment and ran out into the town. Minato as Kazama just looked at each other and nodded before heading out as well. Outside, it was chaos as explosions were everywhere and the entirety of Yuki Ninja gathered were thrown into the confusion. No one could pinpoint the location of the rebels, with the exception of Minato and Kazama, but they were focused on other targets at the moment. Riku and Senjutsu jumped into action upon catching a glimpse of one of the rebels, only to feel their bee suddenly go limp as the drugs that had been slipped into the drinks and the 2 fell to the street. However, they never hit the ground as Minato and Kazama discreetly dragged their unconscious bee away using the cover of the battle. UHG, where am I? What happened? Senjutsu slowly began to stir from his drug-induced slumber. The first thing he noticed was that he was bound. The second being the voices he heard, the same voices of those 2 from the bar. His vision, while clearing up, was still blurry and he could only make out a rough image of the 2 standing before him. Not bad Naruto. That actually worked. I didn't think anyone would fall for the old drugged sake trick, said Jiraiya. Is that what you told yourself when Barkin did the same thing to you? Retorted Naruto. Quiet about that brat, defended Jiraiya. I'm just saying, replied Naruto. The 2 captured Yuki ninja looked at their captors with mixed expressions. Okay you 2, really funny, laughed Riku. Get us drunk and screw with us. Now why don't you untie us and we'll go back for another round? I'm afraid I can't do that, explained Jiraiya, as he dropped his, Kazama, transformation and Naruto dropped his own. The 2 bound Yuki ninjas' eyes widened in surprise as they began to realize their current situation. But I'm a nice guy, so we can go back to the bar as soon as you tell me everything you know about Kazuhana Kyuki and Kazuhana Doto. Hey, like we'd ever tell you. All you need to know is that when Doto-sama gets his hands on the so-called princess, even the 5 great nations will fear our power, said Senjutsu. After a few minutes of questioning, it was obvious that Jiraiya wasn't going to be getting anything out of these guys by just talking. Hey Naruto, how would you like to learn a new jutsu, said Jiraiya. Really? A new jutsu? Exclaimed an excited Naruto. Ha, you're going to teach the kid a new jutsu here. This I've got to see. What is it? Are you going to teach him how to beg us for candy money or something? mocked Riku, officially earning him the lure of the first guinea pig. Okay Naruto, I think you remember this one, said Jiraiya, placing 2 fingers on Riku's forehead and 2 more over his heart. Ninpo, toad transformation. In a puff of smoke and a flash of light, Riku was gone, replaced by a small toad. Ha, you think that measly genjutsu's going to get me to talk? Scoffed Senjutsu. Oh, that's no mere genjutsu, said Jiraiya. I hate to say it, but your friend truly is amongst the amphibians now, as you'll soon find out in a matter of moments, assuming my young apprentice here doesn't screw up on his first time. Quit joking around. There's no way you can actually turn someone into a frog, let alone me, said Senjutsu. Nah, you're probably right. Naruto here doesn't have enough experience with the jutsu to fully transform you yet, said Jiraiya, flustering Naruto a bit. If you're lucky, you'll end up in a kind of half-toad state. Perhaps a human body with a toad head, or... Just stop already. There's no way you can turn me into a toad, now release the genjutsu on my friend, shouted Senjutsu as he motioned over to Riki. Croak. A small fly buzzed past Riku and the tiny toad opened its mouth and shot its tongue at the fly, gobbling it up, and making Senjutsu's face go blue. Q quit it. It's just a genjutsu, stuttered Senjutsu, trying to reassure himself. Say whatever you want. I'm sure Tsunade could use some more dissection models while teaching medical jutsu to her students, said Jiraiya. I even heard that she knows this lightning jutsu to make a frog dance. At this time, Riku hopped up a pile of crates and landed on top of Senjutsu's head, before croaking again. Now Senjutsu was really beginning to panic. Why you wouldn't, said Senjutsu. Me? No. But as I said, Naruto needs someone to practice on, said Jiraiya, motioning to Naruto. By this point in time, Naruto had completely picked up on the act and was just grinning. Naruto proceeded to go through the motions of his master. Ninpo, toad trans. Wait, I'll talk, screamed Senjutsu. They're arriving at the docks tomorrow at noon. From there, I imagine she'll be escorted along the main street to the fortress. Now please, don't turn me into a frog. Jiraiya smiled, as their captive filled them in on more of the details. The following day, 2 Yuki ninja guards were coming onto the guard rotation in front of the fortress where they would await the arrival of Kazuhana Kayuki. Today was a tense day for those involved in Doto's regime, and the attack from yesterday had the entire town on high alert. It was today that Doto-sama would truly be able to claim what was rightfully his, and the land of snow would rise to glory under Doto-sama's power. The 2 guards were tense. Today was one of those days where just about anything could happen and that you should be ready for anything. They had taken the back roads to get to the fortress gates, wanting to avoid any angry civilians. While most of the shinobi in the country might have been happy with Doto's rule, the civilians were anything but pleased with the tyrant ruler, and it wasn't uncommon for a civilian to do whatever they could to hinder the shinobi in the town. A few minutes later, T-guards emerged from the alleyway, with the gates of the fortress in sight and the sound of a horn in the distance, indicating the arrival of Nadere's team and their prisoner. The guards saluted their comrades at the gate and took their posts as the team consisting of Nadere and Mizore approached the gate with a certain princess in tow. 2 of the other guards stepped forward to meet with Nadere. It appears as if your mission succeeded, Nadere, stated one of the guards. However, it appears as if you're missing one. Where's Fubuki? Sadly, she didn't make it, said Nadere, trying to fake an ounce of sympathy. I see. Oh well, said the other guard who had approached Nadere. Doto-sama is outing you. Nadere nodded and led Kayuki towards the gates as the captured princess turned to the people who had gathered. I'm sorry I let you all down. I figured it would be hopeless from the beginning, but I truly am sorry, said Kayuki. It's not hopeless. The hero has finally arrived, shouted one of the 2 guards that had arrived last. Exploding clone jutsu, called out a voice from atop the roofs of the village, and the 2 clones exploded in a violent display of flames and energy, throwing Nadere and Mizore back, along with the princess, and the guards who were close enough to the blast. Kayuki found herself thrown back, only to be caught by a man that she recognized with white hair as he took off down the street with many of the civilians erupting in cheer. Doto was a happy man today. Today would finally be the day. The ship containing his prize had just arrived and he had just opened the doors to his fortress to greet his niece for the first time in 15 years. Today couldn't get any better. That is until he saw a massive explosion tear apart his gate and a white-haired man take off down the street with the princess. Guards, after them, ordered Doto as his forces quickly assembled and pursued the white-haired man. They passed the gate, only to find them nailed down by a barrage of hundreds of shuriken. About half of them were wearing some form of chakra armor, which was the half that wasn't affected by the shuriken hail. Jiraiya-san, asked a surprised Kayuki. Who else? You didn't think I'd let you get away without finishing the movie first, said Jiraiya as he was joined by an orange and black blur. How'd it go, kid? There's a good chunk of them wearing that weird armor, so my shuriken didn't affect them, unfortunately. I did manage to see the number chasing us by half though, and the rest are dealing with my clones. That'll at least slow them down, said Naruto. Why did you come? Asked Kayuki. You shouldn't have come, you don't know Doto, he'll kill you. Why does this sound kind of familiar? Asked Naruto. Probably because that kid from Wave Country was like that, replied Kurama. Naruto smirked at this. Hey, don't worry. This isn't the first time I've taken down a maniacal tyrant who supposedly will kill me, bragged Naruto. It was at this time that Naruto's senses kicked in and the three of them came to a halt as a crowd of about 50 Yuki ninja were blocking their escape route. Hand over the princess, and I promise I'll make your death painless, called out Doto, who had arrived in the rear, surrounding Naruto, Jiraiya, and Kayuki. Doto didn't give them much of a chance to respond before sending his forces towards the two Konoha ninja and the actress out off princess, only for a mass of smoke bombs to go off throughout the streets they were standing on. What the hell is going on? Thought Naruto. He barely had time to react before he felt a rope wrap around him and yank him upwards towards the top of the buildings. Once clear of the smoke, Naruto saw a good number of ninjas standing on the rooftops, only they were not wearing chakra armor, and instead of the traditional Yukigakure symbol of 4 dots, it had a hexagonal snowflake design on it. And standing within those ninja was Sandayu. As soon as Naruto landed on the roof and the rope loosened, he was already in a defensive position. Who the hell are you? And why do you have old man Sandayu? Demanded Naruto. Calm down. It appears we are on the same side, spoke one of the new shinobi before making a hand signal. On his mark, the couple dozen or so shinobi lobbed a bunch of tagged kunai down upon their enemy, resulting in multiple explosions that rattled the building and forced them to leap away before the building itself collapsed. As the rebels, Leaf Ninja, and Kayuki jumped back onto a more sturdy building, they heard something call out from the smoke. Hyoten, Black Dragon Blizzard. A black dragon of ice came shooting out of the smoke, directly towards Kayuki. Kayuki, shouted Naruto, but he wasn't the one to move. Sandayu was the one who jumped towards Kayuki, knocking her out of the path of the ice jutsu, but getting hit himself as the ice dug deep into his F. Sandayu, shouted Kayuki as she saw her long-time protector fall after taking that hit for her. We need to get out of here, exclaimed one of the rebel ninja as he ordered the rest of his company to grab Kayuki and Sadayu's body while making their retreat into the mountains surrounding Yukigakure. As a crowd of people began to move back into the sheltering caves that protected them from the incoming blizzard, one woman was left standing in front of a lone marker on the side of a cliff overlooking the once majestic village of Yukigakure. In mountain lore, markers have been used to help guide travelers safely throughout their harsh journey through the wilderness to ensure that they came out alive. There was only one thing different about this marker: it wasn't a marker for the living. Kazuhana Kayuki couldn't help but stare at the inscription carved on the grave marker, Asama Sandayu, a hero of spring. Upon arriving at the base of the Yuki rebels, Sandayu succumbed to his injuries, but before he was able to ask for one last request, which was, to bring spring back to the land of snow. It was a foolish dream to begin with. I'm sorry Sandayu, but I can't do this anymore, said Kayuki, shedding a few tears, which happened to freeze before they hit the ground. So you're just going to give up? Asked a familiar voice coming from behind. Kayuki turned to see a certain blonde-haired boy standing behind her. And why should I continue? Asked Kayuki, coldly. Because, your dad and your old man Sandayu would have wanted you to, said Naruto firmly. Do you think they wanted this for their country? I saw the way those people looked. I saw the despair in their eyes, but the moment Ero Sennin and I took off running with you, I immediately saw the hope warm those cold hearts of theirs. They want you to lead them, not some tyrant of an uncle you have. What do you know? Anyone who opposes him, he'll just replied Kayuki. Your uncle sounds like someone I once had the displeasure of coming across once, said Naruto. His name was Gato. He was a business tycoon and a crook at the same time. He robbed the wealth and hope out of the people of the land of waves to the verge of breaking. By the time my team and I arrived on a mission, it looked hopeless. But then again, even in the darkest of times, there always is a small glint of hope. For the wave, that hope came in the form of an old drunkard named Tazuna. We were assigned as bodyguards for him while he completed a bridge that would return the wave back into something that people could actually live for, but Gato didn't like it, so he tried to kill the old man to prevent the wave from having a way around his hold on them. It was also there that I meet Tazuna's grandson, a boy named Inari. And he said the same exact thing you're saying, that it was hopeless. And let me guess, it was, replied Kayuki. Hell no. In the end, the entire village was roused by the hope that was brought by Tazuna's efforts, and in the end, Gato was defeated, said Naruto. I guess what I'm trying to say is that no matter how hopeless it may seem, there is always a way to fight for what's right. Your father believed that, and so did Sandayu. Even I believe it's not lost. I'll fight this Doto guy, and if I have to, I'll kill him myself to ensure the safety of the people here, Tabayo. With that, Naruto turned away to leave Kayuki to the many thoughts swimming in her head. Sandayu, father, what do I do? How is she? Asked the commander of the rebel forces. He was a man by the name of Yukimura Masao. The man looked to be in his late 30s or even early 40s. Masao had black spiky hair that shot backwards and a rather large scar over his right eye, yet the eye itself still looked to be healthy. He wore what was deemed to be an old Yukigakure uniform, which consisted of light blue pants and a solid white flax jacket. The man also had a pair of tantos strapped to his back, which Naruto figured he incorporated into his fighting style. To finish off his uniform, he had a thick white cloak on with a lowered hood, something that acted as protection against the cold in the mountains of the land of snow. I gave her the good old Uzumaki pep talk. She should be fine any minute now, Tabayo, said Naruto. Hey kid, you said your name's Uzumaki, right? Asked Masao. Any relation to the Uzumaki clan? Yeah, actually my ancestors are from that clan, at least before it was destroyed, said Naruto, his voice growing quiet for that last part. Hey, speaking of which, you guys can all use ice-style jutsu, right? Masao nodded. Yeah, it's been a shinobi art passed down through generations throughout our land. Wow, I thought Haku was the only one bearing that bloodline. Exclaimed Naruto. Wait, you mean you know someone who actually has the Hyoten bloodline? Asked Masao demandingly. Yeah, there's this friend of mine back in my village who can use ice-style jutsu as well, said Naruto. Wait, could he be related to anyone here? If you say he can use ice-style in a warm climate, then his ice jutsus are by far stronger than our own, said another of the shinobi in the cavern. We can only manipulate pre-existing ice, but if what you say is true, then does that mean he's a Yuki? Yeah, Naruto was set off by shouting. Teiko, urgent message from the village. Shouted a young girl, about Naruto's age if maybe a year younger. She was actually rather pretty, and the one thing that stood out was the white hair that was tied in a ponytail behind her. Report, ordered Masao. Doto is demanding the return of the princess and the surrender of our forces, or else he's going to start the villages. Announced the girl. This caught everyone's attention. That monster. He can't be serious, cried out one of the rebels. Sir, what do we do? Masao's thoughts were at a standstill. The reason they were doing this was to save the people from Doto's oppressive rule, and if they gave in now, then all their efforts would have been for naught. However, if they disobeyed his demand, then the very people they were fighting for would. And then there was the princess to worry about. She was the last flake of hope for the land of snow, and if Doto got his hands on her, well, all hope would be lost. Are you really just going to stand there and think about it? I thought we were fighting for spring here. Came a voice that caught everyone's attention. Princess. Hey, glad to see you've come to your senses, Kayuki, said Naruto. And don't worry, I've got a plan. We're all doomed. Hey, I didn't ask for your opinion. Objected Naruto. And it's actually a good plan. In the corner of the cave, Jiraiya was listening in as Naruto told everyone his plan. The Gaki's starting to think a little. This ought to be interesting. 3 days passed with the S to Doto's offer of surrender ending at noon that day. If the rebel forces didn't show with the princess, then he would start K the civilians as a response. Thankfully for everyone though, on the morning of the 3rd day, they all showed with the princess and a white flag in hand. Doto eyed the princess and say the very thing he desired hanging around her the hex crystal. I see you've finally decided to end this little game of hide and seek, Kyuki, called out Doto as his guards surrounded the rebels and he stepped forward towards Kyuki. I see you've finally realized that you can't hide from me. Not really. I just have too many people counting on me now. It's about time someone stood up to you, uncle, said Kyuki. I'll surrender myself over, but I want you to let them go. Kyuki pointed to the rebel forces behind her. Doto merely raised an eyebrow at this request. Does she really think I'm that naive? He thought. Very well, but the hex crystal first. Kyuki sighed. She had expected this to come. Reluctantly, she took the necklace off and handed it to her uncle, who examined it. Very well, your Konoha friends can go first. While he had promised himself that he was going to rise to a status that the 5 great nations would someday fear, it was still too soon to get Konoha involved in this mess. Jiraiya and Naruto nodded as they turned around and headed for the gate. As the Konoha ninja got closer to the gate, Doto's eyes grew wide as he inspected the crystal further. What the hell is this? Guards, K them, he ordered. The guards moved into K the rebels, but they all disappeared upon contact as Naruto just smirked. Uzumaki style, siphoning containment seal. Immediately, 6 tags that the shadow clones had dropped before being dispelled lit up around a sizable portion of the Yuki ninja and a barrier formed around them, trapping a good 3 dozen of Doto's overall forces. Within moments, the 3 dozen ninja within the barrier could feel their chakra being drained from them at an alarming rate, their chakra armor doing very little since it was being drained as well. Doto glared at Kyuki with a look of rage before backhanding her and sending her falling to the ground and the hex crystal, causing it to disappear in a puff of smoke, showing that it was merely a transformed shadow clone. Unable to break through the barrier containing their trapped comrades, the Yuki nin settled for the next best thing, attacking the one who had activated the containment seal. Most of the Yuki shinobi backed up in time to avoid the hail of shuriken tagged with ice bombs on the end. Those who weren't fast enough were impaled on numerous spires of ice that shot outward from the kunai. Hey, those are ours, where the hell did you get them? Yelled one of the Yuki nin as the rebel fighters leapt down to join the battle. Apparently someone had been raiding some of Doto's supply warehouses. It was at this time that Doto grabbed Yuki and ran with her back into his fortress. Seeing this, Masao turned to Naruto and Jiraiya. You two go after Doto, we can handle the rest of his goons. Naruto and Jiraiya nodded before running towards Doto's fortress. As the steel front door closed, both Naruto and Jiraiya charged up a Rasengan in their hands and them both into the door, sending it flying off its hinges. Before they could advance much further into the fortress, Naruto and Jiraiya were stopped when a wall of ice blocked their path and the remaining 2 ninja of Doto's personal guard showed up. Well, if it isn't one of the legendary Sannin. Jiraiya, is it? Asked Nader. As much as I am for the pleasantries, I'm afraid we're in a bit of a rush, replied Jiraiya. Kaiten, Dragon Fire Bullet. Jiraiya unleashed his powerful fire jutsu upon the 2 Yuki ninja who jumped out of the way to avoid it. However, they weren't Jiraiya's true target. When the flames settled, the ice wall had been completely melted. Naruto, go on ahead. I'll deal with these 2. Naruto nodded before running ahead. Not wanting Naruto to get away, Mizore shot his grappling hook out of farm towards Naruto. In a quick motion, Naruto drew one of his wind blades and through the hand like it was nothing before continuing his pursuit of Doto and Kyuki. That kid's really a pain in the growled Mizore. You get used to it, replied Jiraiya before he took a fighting stance. Mizore grabbed what looked to be a snowboard from his back and planted his feet onto it as he sped towards Jiraiya. By this point in time, the cold air let in from the door being busted down had frozen the water that lined the floor, giving Mizore a slick surface to make use of his tool. Jiraiya evaded the attack by jumping to the ceiling and clinging to it with chakra. Hyoten, fierce tiger, shouted Nader as he sent a tiger made of ice darting towards Jiraiya just as he landed. The ice tiger struck Jiraiya and as the dust cleared, Nader saw Jiraiya wrapped up in what appeared to be a mixture of needles and hair. Ninpo, needle Jizo, called out Jiraiya. Mizore came around for a second attack and punched at Jiraiya with his good, and F, hand. The hand was driven right into Jiraiya's defense and the needles enter and through Mizore's hand, causing the Yuki ninja to yelp out in pain. Ninpo, needle hell, called out Jiraiya as the needles that wrapped him, suddenly shot out towards Nadara and Mizore. The two Yuki nin just grinned as they increased the chakra in their armor just slightly, but enough to repel Jiraiya's attacks. Jiraiya growled. Of course it's that armor. That Banshee told me about it and from what Naruto told me, only an A rank or higher jutsu can get through the armor. Enough of this, Hyoten, shredding blizzard. Called out Nader as shards of ice shot towards Jiraiya, shredding the Sannin. Hey, I've got you two now. Summoning jutsu, toad mouth bind. Called out Jiraiya's voice from behind them. Before turning around, they saw that Jiraiya was gone, replaced by a piece of furniture from somewhere in the hall. Mizore growled and prepared to rush Jiraiya again on his snowboard, but found himself caught up by something sticky and F. When the two ninja looked around, they saw the entire hallway turn into what appeared to be an esophagus. You are now in the stomach of Iwagama. You will S at my hand. There is no escape. We'll see about that, shouted Nader as he tried to perform an ice jutsu, only for nothing to happen, seeing as there wasn't any ice in the esophagus of the great fire-breathing toad of Mount Myoboku. Jiraiya grinned before his hand into the innards of the toad, causing a crushing wave to be sent towards the Yuki ninja. They tried to run, but there was no escape from this jutsu of Jiraiya's and down the halls, screaming followed by the crushing of bones could be heard. As the esophagus retreated, Jiraiya continued down the hall, after his student, only to stop momentarily as an explosion rocked the fortress. Naruto bolted into what appeared to be the throne room with Doto holding Kyuki in a sort of headlock and demanding her to give him the real hex crystal. Hey, let her go, demanded Naruto. Doto looked up and just grinned at Naruto. You really think I'm going to do it just because some snot-nosed kid says to? Replied Doto. As Doto glared at Naruto, this gave Kyuki the opportunity she needed in order to reach into her sleeve and pull out a tanto. With a powerful thrust, she jabbed the tanto back into Doto's gut, causing the dictator to stumble backwards with a shocked expression. Yeah, that got him, cheered Naruto, only for his senses to kick in as Doto began laughing evilly as he stopped his fake stumbling. Grabbing the tanto and it, along with his clothes off, he revealed himself to be wearing a pair of black chakra armor, which easily prevented the blade from his F. Fine, I'll just KO and then take the hex crystal. Once you're gone, there won't be anyone to stop me anyways. Doto turned to Kyuki and sent her a look with intent to K in it before backhanding her off the platform they were standing on. Kyuki, shouted Naruto, rushing over to catch her in time before hitting the ground. He blonde Jinchuriki grabbed Kyuki and jumped backwards just in time to avoid Doto's Black Dragon Blizzard attack. Naruto set Kyuki down behind a pillar and could see that she was a bit shaken. Don't worry, I'll take care of this guy. You just keep believing that everything will be alright after this, Tobio. Kyuki saw the determination in Naruto's eyes. He was right, if anyone could defeat her uncle it was him. You think you can beat me, kid? Laughed Doto, using enhanced speed that his armor gave him to appear at Naruto's side and give the blonde a powerful punch. Had it not have been for all the speed and taijutsu training, Naruto would have taken that punch directly upside the head. Regardless, the blonde was sent crashing back into a pillar. Damn, that was almost as hard as Sakura-chan, commented Naruto. This was no longer a time for fooling around, so he deactivated the seals on him and prepared for the fight. Doto rushed again, but with the reduced resistance, Naruto was able to dodge the strike while retaliating with his own. The punch didn't do too much as Doto's armor negated most of the force behind the strike. Taking a few steps back, Doto called out his jutsu, Hyoten, Twin Dragon Blizzard. He thrust both of his hands forward, sending out two black ice dragons towards Naruto. Futon, Wind Dragon Bullet. Called out Naruto, unleashing his own dragon-like jutsu against Doto. The two jutsus collided, but it was clear that Doto's had more power behind it as it soon overpowered Naruto's jutsu. Naruto jumped out of the way just in time to avoid taking the full force of Doto's attack, still getting grazed in the process. Doto then proceeded to shoot out another attack, forcing Naruto to dodge some more. Damn it, I can't just keep dodging. I've gotta get in close and use the Rasengan, thought Naruto. Multi-shadow clone jutsu. Dozens of Narutos appeared and they immediately leapt towards Doto, who only grinned. Hyoten, Twin Dragon Blizzard. The jutsu connected with all the Naruto clones, dispelling them and sending Naruto flying back as the wall collapsed down upon the blonde. Naruto, shouted Kayuki. Get up. PFT. Too bad, kid. You should have left while I gave you the chance. It's over and you're going to said Doto as he his fist into Naruto, only to be caught in the middle of a massive explosion, erupting from Naruto, that shook the very foundations of the fortress and sent him flying backwards into the opposite wall of the throne room. It ain't over till I say it's over, exclaimed Naruto as he stepped out from behind a pillar, forming a Rasengan and charging straight over towards where Doto was lying. Rasengan, shouted Naruto as he the Rasengan into the C-piece on Doto's armor, easily destroying it and causing the following explosion from the destruction of the chakra armor to add to the Rasengan's power and ultimately bring down the tyrant once and for all. He did it, gasped Kayuki in amazement. Hey, told you I would, replied Naruto, bringing a warm smile to Kayuki's face. Both Kayuki and Naruto turned to the entrance of the throne room when they heard a clapping noise, only to see Jiraiya walk out from the hallway. Not bad, Gaki, commented Jiraiya. The rebel army was successful in defeating Doto's forces and was now preparing to charge into the fortress to assist their Konoha allies with the battle going on inside. However, before they had a chance to, cheers erupted from the front of the unit as they caught a glimpse of Naruto, Jiraiya, and Kayuki walking out of the palace, a beaten and nearly Doto in tow. The cheers began to spread throughout the village as the citizens realized that they were finally free of the oppressive tyrant and that the rightful princess had returned. Any ninja still loyal to Doto and not captured or took the cheers as their opportunity to flee before the new Yuki ninjas could round them up. A few hours passed, and Kayuki found herself back at the grave of Sandayu, moving a small patch of snow and earth to retrieve the hex crystal that she left in his care while she went to confront her uncle. I don't mean to be rude, but what exactly is so special about that crystal and why did Doto want it so bad? Asked Jiraiya. Kayuki looked to Masaru who just nodded. After a lot to help us, it's only far that you know what the Kazuhana treasure really is, said Kayuki as she guided them to a frozen lake surrounded by 6 pillars at the base of the mountains. In the middle of the lake was a small shrine that Kayuki walked forward to, taking the hex crystal and placing it in a special keyhole. The entire area rumbled until a warm glow was emitted from the shrine. It's a chakra generator, commented Kurama. A chakra generator, replied Naruto out loud. Yes, seeing as the land of snow is primarily cold all year round, my father and his researchers developed this chakra generator to allow us to bring a time of spring to the land of snow, explained Kayuki. I can see why Doto was after this. If utilized correctly, a chakra generator like this one can be extremely powerful, said Jiraiya. Ero Sennin, what exactly is a chakra generator? Asked Naruto. Well, it's as it sounds. It generates chakra. It appears as if Doto wanted to try and weaponize it and turn it against the rest of the shinobi world. It's a good thing he didn't get his hands on it, said Jiraiya. I thought all the chakra generators in existence were either destroyed or shut down and sealed. As you can see, this one is still operational, said Kayuki. However, we have no desire to see my father's precious invention used as a tool of war. Instead, he wanted it used to usher a period of warm spring to this nation. As I said, our nation is cold almost all year round, but this chakra generator is used to give us a period of about 6 months of spring each year. After that, then it needs to be shut down so that it can recharge, and a gentle winter returns to the land of snow. I see, said Jiraiya. This is also the best guarded secret of the land of snow, so I am humbly begging you not to tell anyone about it, pleaded Kayuki. A chakra generator would draw plenty of unwanted attention by those who would wish to see it put to more violent purposes, especially since this is the last one that I know of that is still operational, said Jiraiya. And without it, this nation would be doomed to an endless winter, said Kayuki. Don't worry, we won't tell, exclaimed Naruto. Jiraiya just sighed. While I don't like the idea of there being a chakra generator still in existence, we'll keep your secret so long as it's used for peaceful purposes. Thank you, bowed Kayuki. The land of snow is truly in your debt. If there is anything that you need, by all means, feel free to ask. And I would also like to invite you stay for the coronation next week. We'll stay, after all we've still got a movie to finish up, don't we? Grinned Jiraiya with a slightly perverted look on his face, getting a slight giggle out of Kiyuki. And his perviness never ends, thought Naruto. As Naruto, Jiraiya, Kiyuki, and Masao re-entered the village, they were greeted with a thunderous applause. Already, the village felt just a little warmer and the citizens could tell that spring was on its way. Father! Shouted the same white-haired Kanoiki from before as she ran towards Masao. For Masao and his daughter, now that the retaking of the land of snow was successful, they would finally have a chance to act as a family once again. Huh, she's your daughter? Asked a slightly surprised Naruto. Yes, this is my daughter Nitsuki. Nitsuki, this is Uzumaki Naruto, one of the heroes of spring. Nice to finally meet you, Naruto-kun, bowed Nitsuki, a slight blush coming to her face which went unnoticed by Naruto, but not Jiraiya. The week passed with a majority of the week spent towards getting the land of snow back on its feet. During this time, the weather had grown much warmer and most of the snow surrounding the village had melted. Spring had come and everyone couldn't be happier. One of the biggest reasons for celebration was the destruction of Doto's military-like fortress and the beginnings of the construction of the new Kazuhana Palace. Jiraiya had sent word for the movie crew to pack up and meet here, in the land of snow, as he felt it would be a perfect place to finish filming the movie, which honestly excited most people that a big-name movie was going to be shot in their homeland, even if it was an adult movie. A certain blonde Uzumaki was making his way back to the inn that he and Jiraiya had been given a room in. The two of them were treated like heroes, considering they kind of were heroes to this country. However, what Naruto didn't notice was a certain white-haired ninja following him around for a good portion of the week. It was on the following day when Jiraiya received a response to the report he had sent back to Konoha. Despite there not being any intentions to communicate with Konoha for the majority of the trip, a major international event such as this did require some sort of report to be sent. So what did Baken say? Asked Naruto. She actually seemed rather impressed. Considering we were there to help evacuate Kiyuki during the coup, Konoha had already been trying to negotiate with Doto, but those failed. I honestly feel that had those loyal to Kiyuki and her father asked for help from Konoha, we would have aided anyways, explained Jiraiya. You'll be happy to know Naruto, that Tsunadheim is considering this an A-rank mission for you. Really? That's awesome, declared Naruto. I know we've already discussed payment, Kiyuki was off. As I told you, you don't have to pay us a thing. We did it because it was the right thing to do, said Jiraiya. Still, I feel as if we are indebted to you for your role in everything. Nonetheless, I have sent an emissary to your village to negotiate what I hope will amount to an alliance and trade agreement between our nations, said Kiyuki. I feel it would be beneficial to both our nations. I'm honestly not going to argue with that, said Jiraiya before the sounding of cannon fire was heard in the background, indicating that the coronation of Princess Kiyuki was only moments away. Well, I'd better get prepared, said Kiyuki. We can talk a bit more afterwards. The day of the coronation was one the land of Snowvout offspring would never forget. With their chakra generator running at full capacity, spring was fully in bloom and many of the once sleeping plants finally had a chance to bloom. Everywhere, the citizens of Yukigakure were dressed up and lining the streets that the coronation parade was to march down. As the drums and music began to sound, the parade marched its way through the city, with the new shinobi of Yukigakure and the heroes of the revolution leading the way. Masao, who was also a long-time friend of Kiyuki and her father, had been named as the shinobi commander of the land of snow, and nobody was even willing to deny him of that. Naruto and Jiraiya had also been granted an honorary spot in the parade and, while oblivious to Naruto, Jiraiya noticed the gazes of much of the younger female population checking out their hero. He also noticed how Masao's daughter would even try to walk as close to Naruto as possible before the other Yuki shinobi told her to fall back into formation. Following behind the heroes of the revolution, was a large open carriage that was carrying the country's beloved princess, drawn by snow-white horses and surrounded on either side by 4 banner guards carrying large purple banners. The crowds cheered as some threw purple confetti over the parade, before the parade stopped at the temple where Kiyuki was to be inaugurated as the daimyo of the land of snow. Standing atop one of the high platforms in the temple, Kiyuki waved down to her supporters. For such an occasion, she certainly looked like a princess, wearing a flowing purple robe with a green and blue drape over top the robe. The one thing that stood out though was the large pink and purple hat that she was wearing with 4 tags draping down from the sides. It was at this time that one of the elders crowned Kayuki as the daimyo of the land of snow and the masses erupted in celebration. That entire night was nothing but one giant festival and party with plenty of music and dancing to celebrate the coming of spring. You know, now that I think of it, there is one request I would like to ask of you, Kayuki-hime, said Jiraiya. Whatever it is, I'm sure it will be no problem, said Kayuki. What do you have in mind? You see, my student has this pretty girl back at home and I promised him I'd teach him how to dance. However, taking a look at some of the people here, I was wondering if you knew someone who could help him get rid of that second left foot, asked Jiraiya. Oh, I don't think finding someone to give him some dance lessons will be much of a problem, said Kayuki. As if on cue, Jiraiya saw the mob of girls swarm around his student. Lucky bastard, thought Jiraiya. Being Naruto, he honestly didn't know any better and soon found himself dragged away by Nitsuki. There's definitely going to be some action if that girl ever met Hinata. That could be good for my next book. 3 months passed with Jiraiya and Naruto remaining in the land of snow. Unfortunately, with Kayuki taking up her duties as leader of the nation, she didn't have as much time to dedicate to finishing the movie, but it eventually found itself done and the filming was now over. Naruto's dance lessons had proven to be a success and he was even beginning to enjoy himself out on the dance floor. He couldn't wait until he returned home to Hinata to sweep her off her feet, as Jiraiya put it. Also for Naruto, the 3 months proved enough time for Yukigaku's ramen stand to resume operation and he was able to get his passport stamped for their specialty ramen, putting Naruto's total count up to 12. The master and student duo now found themselves on the deck of a large ship, ready to leave port and resume their journey. Once again, the people of the land of spring can't thank you enough for what you have done. You will always be welcome here and please do stop whenever you get the chance, said Kayuki, giving Naruto and Jiraiya a bow. Don't worry, I'll stop by again, Tobayo, exclaimed Naruto. As the ship began to leave port, Nitsuki called out to Naruto. Goodbye my love, I'll be waiting for the next time our hearts cross. Love. Oh crap, don't tell me, fangirls. Oh no, if Hinata-chan ever finds out, thought Naruto as he finally realized why all those girls were fawning over him for the past few months. Jiraiya caught Naruto's reaction and couldn't help but laugh, earning a glare from Naruto. Land of Snow, 6 months later. 4 figures were wandering around Yukigaku, looking for any information regarding a certain person. Seeing as the person they were searching out was considered a hero in this town, it wasn't hard to find someone who knew the name, Uzumaki Naruto, or should I say, Namikaze Naruto. Unfortunately for the searchers, many of the people of Yukigaku could sense that something was wrong with these guys, especially the giant in red armor, and while they mentioned the name of their hero, they only mentioned that he left 5 months ago, no information of where his destination was. It was at this point that the 4 searchers caught a slight waving motion coming from a back alley that was trying to capture their attention. The searchers readied themselves while carefully making their way towards the alley and a man stepped out from the shadows. This man was Senjutsu, the same man who had been captured and interrogated months ago. I hear you're looking for someone, said Senjutsu. We might be. Why? Do you have something that might help? Asked one of the searchers, handing a photo to Senjutsu. That brat left 5 months ago. I believe the white-haired bastard said something about the land of iron. I honestly wish I could give you more, but that's unfortunately all I've got, said Senjutsu with an obvious tone of hatred towards the 2 heroes. Interesting. Your information's proved most useful, said one of the searchers. Whatever I can do to help make those bastards pay for what he did to my friend, he said, pointing to the small toad on top of his head. Don't worry, we'll see to it. There's nothing more you need to worry about, said one of the searchers before plunging a kunai into Senjutsu's stomach. While he might have provided them with some valuable information, he was still considered a loose end to the searchers that they couldn't afford for him to alert people to their true intentions. 6 months before that, in the land of iron. Damn, it's getting cold again, sighed Naruto as he started to shiver a little. The Land of Iron was located just a bit south of the Land of Snow on the mainland, and while it was slightly warmer than the Land of Snow, sadly that wasn't the case during this time of year. Jiraiya and Naruto trudged onward until they came upon the landmark that showed they had nearly arrived at the destination. From atop one of the smaller mountains they were descending from, the Three Wolves Mountains appeared in the distance. The three mountains towered above the rest, resembling a wolf's maw. At the base of the mountain was the town of Sangaku, home to the samurai of the Land of Iron. There it is, Naruto, the Land of Iron, said Jiraiya as he pointed off into the distance towards the mountain. Jutsu, Uzumaki style, siphoning containment seal, an Uzumaki style barrier seal that traps anything within and begins siphoning the chakra of those trapped. Rank A, uses Uzumaki Naruto. Hyoten, fierce tiger, rank B, uses Roga Nader. Ninpo, needle Jizo, rank B, uses Jiraiya. Hyoten, shredding blizzard, Nader sends out a blizzard of razor-sharp ice shards towards his opponent, and shredding their F, rank B, uses Roga Nader. Summoning jutsu, toad mouth bind, rank A, uses Jiraiya, Uzumaki Naruto. Hyoten, black dragon blizzard, rank B, uses Kazuhana Doto. Hyoten, twin dragon blizzard, rank A, uses Kazuhana Doto. That will be all for this video. Be sure to like, subscribe, share, and comment down below for more videos. Goodbye.